Up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 8 of the ACG Show and Tell Social Mixer Summer Series. I'm Rosa, I'm your host, and I'm thankful and glad that you could join me on this Thursday. So I hope you're all enjoying what the weather may be where you are. So here in New York City, it's a little cloudy, feels a little damp. So wherever you are, I hope you're enjoying it for my sake as well. But yes, so ACG stands for Anime, Comic, and Game Social Mixer. It's a network space where people can come together who are fans, performers, creatives, artists, just anyone that's enthusiastic about the anime, comic, and gaming genre, even cosplayers as well. So before we get into my next guest, and it's an honor to bring her here, I wanted to talk about something I introduced last Friday. So last Friday I put up a post mentioning that I am affiliated brand of the Tokyo Bronx brand. So it'll be called now the Tokyo Bronx ACG. So I'm affiliated brand of what's overall umbrella called Tokyo Bronx. So we started a small partnership with myself and two others, and we're going to be bringing to you live or bringing to you through virtual, wherever it could be, just promoting this brand, all things that are cross-culture mashup between urban anime, urban gaming, urban comics, mechs, if you're into Gundam, if you're into mechs like that, cosplay. So just that cross-cultural mashup between the Bronx urban culture and Tokyo's urban culture. So there's already been a couple of New Yorkers who have done mashups with Tokyo culture, and even in Tokyo as well, and Japan as a whole country have done mashups with Bronx culture and Bronx influences as well. So we're going to be using the Tokyo Bronx brand and also me, the affiliated brand of Tokyo Bronx ACG, to be sharing with you, promoting networks involving all those categories. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be an exciting new venture, and we hope that you could join the network. So I'll put the description of that Tokyo Bronx ACG in the description of this episode. Also, you could look back. Yep, it's going on well. So I'm rocking his shirt here. So it says Wisdom. You can check out his stuff too, Art by Hiroyo as well. So with the Tokyo Bronx ACG, you could go to the Instagram or go back to a post I put up last Friday to follow that. Click on the Instagram link as well. Or you could go to the Facebook page, and it's called Tokyo Bronx, and you could look that up as well. Bringing my guest shortly. So please definitely check that out. I'm excited. And of course, before I go into that, this summer series is sponsored by nerdlike_geeklife Instagram page. So all things related to nerd culture, anime culture, comic culture, please go to nerdlife_geeklike as well. Okay? When we bring in my guest, let me do this. There's always a part making sure it connects. And those of you who are joining me now or later on Instagram TV, thank you so much. And if you have any description in the comment section below or anything for our virtual guest.
Hi.
How's it going? Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. It's such a pleasure to have you here. So I wanted to formally introduce you before we get into it. That's cool.
Of course.
Yes. So this is Valerie Carrington. She is a culinary and baking chef and crafter. She's been in the culinary business for over 10 years, and she's the proud owner of Valerie's Viand. So thank you so much for joining me, and I really appreciated it because this is really exciting, different kind of vibe when it comes to the anime, comic, gaming network and vibe. Sort of like we always know cosplayers are going to be in it, comic book artists, those who are into gaming. So it's good to find a different twist and to add that into his network. So I appreciate you coming on as well.
Thank you for having me. This is really fun. I'm like kind of gamey, somewhat with the mushroom.
Yeah, everyone has a little touch they put into it, Like me, I'm sort of like I call myself a closet gamer, meaning like for years, like I grew up with gaming and anime comics, from my uncles, and then grew up with it. But something, I guess, growing up where in my era and then as a female, it was always hard to like kind of admit it, like, yeah, I'm a gamer, or yeah, I'm into comics, And my favorite comic character was Storm from X-Men. So it was like, I still have this huge poster of her, and my mom still has it. She don't want to let go of it. It's back in her house.
She was a
But I
power
tell
of the
her,
force. Of course, yeah.
yes, oh my God. My uncle knew like I loved her and I had the comic, so he gifted that Storm. There's a Storm poster that was created by, I think it was Jim Lee, and it's her in like an Amazon jungle in an Amazon bikini.
Awesome.
So I was like probably only 12 years old, and I'm like, look, I love it. It's Storm. However she looks, I'm like, I'll take it. So it was great. So yes, thank you for joining me. I'm glad that we could diversify this network and just with different types of creative and artistic categories and also careers that's going to build this network. So just tell us a little bit who you are, maybe things I haven't mentioned yet, of who you are and what you do.
Sure. So as Rosa stated, I am Valerie of Valerie's Viand Inc. I've been in the culinary hospitality industry for about a little over 10 years. Started a catering company from home, just really small. Decided to then go to culinary school. After that, I gained a lot of great connections just from the school and branching out, working in the industry. I then started to bartend. I've worked in the kitchen. I've worked front of the house, back of the house, but I've always still had like the cake aspect of the company there. That blew up. Nobody wanted cake food or catering anymore because they were so intrigued by the cakes and the detailed cookies that I was doing. So it completely changed. Like I just stopped doing food on that aspect, but still worked in a kitchen, still maintained that relationship. I still do cakes to this day, but Rona has definitely slowed that process down quite a bit. So as you know, we do the crafting. Me and my friend Sky, shout out to Sky, AW Geeks. We have a laser cutting machine. So everything that I am wearing right now is from the machine. Rosa also has a pair of earrings on from me. Thank you very much.
Yes, of course. Had to rep these. I think I did it in another episode, but I had to because rules for the children, so I represent Woo all day.
All day. But yeah, so and I've also ventured out a little bit in terms of just crafts in general that people can gravitate to. Rona has definitely put a damper on working from not just from home because materials are hard to obtain, but also just working outside. Obviously, the majority of the country is unemployed right now, but just having to decide a way to completely switch up the direction that I'm going in terms of business. It's been really difficult, but other than that, it's like people are still very, very supportive overall. So that's me.
Right. Yes, I know we're going to get into that shortly about how creatives and entrepreneurs have just shifted during this whole pandemic. So before that, like when I first met you was actually at the Taste of the Bronx Christmas event. I believe you was there at one of the Taste of the Bronx shows. You were there, and it was amazing just to see, all the creators and the different things. I've never been to a Taste of the Bronx show, so I said, let me check it out, and it was just great to see just how amazing all this creative process goes. So just tell us a little bit more about that experience and how it's ventured into other experiences for you.
Taste of the Bronx is awesome. Thank you, Paul. Thank you to them just in general for providing us the opportunity to be able to branch out. So it's definitely gained a lot of relationships for me in terms of just creating more items for people, still staying in the culinary aspect, like people still order cupcakes and cookies on the side, but it's definitely gained a larger platform for me in terms of just like promotion. A perfect example is meeting you. Just the opportunities are really vast with it. And I've seen it grow to something that was so not necessarily small, but in, I guess, like a lower volume, I guess. But they've really, it's so upsetting that Rona really, like, this quarantine put a stop to everything because it was gaining a really, really great momentum. And just the connections that it was bringing, like every vendor that's there, everybody supports everyone. Everybody promotes each other or purchases items from each other. And it was really a great, great opportunity. And the guys are awesome. It's just, it's a really great thing. And I enjoy that they're still supporting us after the fact that we can't really, we can't be out there.
Right. Yeah, I think it's, it's a great segue to get into what we wanted to talk about, because I spoke about this with previous guests of mine with, the pandemic and COVID-19. Once it hit, it was like a shift of like how we conduct our businesses, how we had to go from brick and mortar and pop-up shops to actually making e-commerce stores and going online, doing virtual events like this one, because usually I do the social mixer events in person in different locations throughout the boroughs. And so this definitely did shift a lot of things. So for yourself and in your community of culinary and creators and entrepreneurs, how has that experience been?
It was stressful in the beginning because I was just like, I went through all the motions, like stress and not really wondering what the next step was, what would be like the next move. But overall, I realized that that people are always going to want to eat. They're always going to want to drink, especially in a climate like this. They need something to kind of pacify the situation. So I turned to doing a boozy cupcake once a week. So I started to do a menu where I would release it on a Sunday, have everybody place their orders by Thursday, and start either delivering or having them pick up on Fridays and Saturdays. I did it for about 2 months. It got really, really, really overwhelming between that and then also having the Etsy page and also doing regular cakes. It definitely became like way too much because they were constant. And it's not that I'm ungrateful, but it was just way too much that I thought that it would just be slow and nobody would really order. And it grew every week. So I definitely put a hold on that. July kicked in and it was cake nonstop between graduations, birthdays, weddings. I was very overwhelmed. That slowed down because I just realized I needed a break. The hot weather and having to be outside, it put a real damper on things because people you have to be outside in order to have these parties now, and it's too hot. And buttercream literally is butter, so it melts. And cakes outside, it just makes the event look, unprofessional. It makes me look unprofessional because then people think that I'm providing a cake that's already melting coming into an event. So I had to kind of like take a slow like back away, if that makes sense. That doesn't make sense. I had to back away a little bit. Yeah, it was just, but overall, everything has been like, I've been very fortunate. I've been very, very fortunate in the fact that like, it's kind of been nonstop. But I know a lot of other people are struggling. They're still trying to find different ways. Like I have a couple friends that are selling cocktails. People are selling, a meal a week, sweets. People are just still, hospitality is always a grind. So it's a lot easier when you're in the weeds or under pressure. Sometimes people need that push just to really like get it going.
Right, like AWE says, smart, moves to make, especially, with this whole pandemic. And I think people are just, it's very surprising to hear how overwhelming the amount of business, which is great. I give congrats to you and to be able to handle all that. I guess it's sort of what makes you realize like how much this business is, like how worthwhile your business is, and that how much it could grow even just from something like this. And I think also was wondering like, as creatives and as entrepreneurs, what's that next step we could take to kind of be innovative, how to be unique, which is what you did. You took a spin with those boozy cocktails, with the cupcakes, which I saw was amazing, to see that. And it was right around the right time of Mother's Day and Father's Day, which was when the pandemic, things were starting to open up. So that was a great, interesting push there. So I'm curious to know more for your perspective as far as, do you think innovation, like how did you get the motivation internally and externally to push yourself to get that innovative, creative spark during this pandemic?
I think it was just the pressure of knowing that we have bills to pay and we have to hustle. I mean, New Yorkers alone, we're always constantly 2, 3, 4 jobs just to get things taken care of. But in terms of innovation, I just think sometimes it's just a bug in your ear, somebody telling you something from a while ago, and it eventually just being like, this needs to happen. It definitely, you need to move forward with it. Even if you necessarily don't want to, you don't know how to execute it, it'll come to you. And this was definitely one of those things. I've done the cupcakes before. They weren't necessarily something that I was comfortable in promoting because I knew that it would be overwhelming. But in, you know, in a climate like this, there's really no choice. You just have to jump in and make sure you can swim.
Right, especially, it's one of those do or die situations of like, do I float or sink? And, you took the high ground and, it's like you mentioned before, working with others and seeing like how they could support you as well. So I want to know in this process, have you been working with others, whether it's collaboratively or just making connections?
Definitely connections. So there is a brunch that me and a few other friends attend via Zoom called Brunch for Us. It is I guess it's a brunch that originally started by Della, a friend of mine and Sky's from high school, that he brought from originally, being outside in the city regularly. He's now in LA. But during the pandemic, nobody had anywhere to go on those Saturdays that we used to be out. So he then transitioned it to a Zoom, and it started with a few people. And now every week we have between 50 to 70 people attending. Last week we did a collaboration with Martell. So it was a food component, a drink component, and a dessert. And everybody that's there and in the hospitality realm was able to really promote their skills and their services. So we all automatically have been doing that regardless. And it's just heightened that promotion of each other. Like, I'll order from you, you order from me next week. We'll just cross promote no matter what. We're constantly always pushing each other. I haven't done any collaborative efforts yet. It's just been, we just make sure that we're on top of each other's game as much as we can.
All right, I like that idea. It's really interesting, way to go about like, especially sharing and knowing that you got some guaranteed customers, guaranteed connection group, knowing that you are gonna buy from each other, especially during this time. And they bring in their own connections as well. So I think that's a great, look at it and direction to go. And who knows that, because they're saying there's going to be a second wave with this pandemic. And this is sort of like the experimental test phase of testing these things out and seeing how much more we could do with it in this perspective.
Absolutely. It's scary to know that something like that is potential and can happen, but we always have to be on top of like as much as I want to be an optimist, you still have to have that pessimism inside. Like, the glass is half full, but also the glass might have coronavirus in it, and we need to really be able to be on top of, just mentally preparing that this winter we might have to permanently stay inside. It's not something I want. I know nobody really is looking forward to that. It's scary, but it is a reality that we might have to face.
Right. It's sort of like the saying, I'm saying it right, it's like plan for the best, prepare for the worst. Absolutely. Kind of thing. And, in every aspect, that's something we're all coming to reality with. I want to go into, so this is being anime, comic, and game social mixer. So you've done a couple of little anime, comic, game sort of fusions with your craft and your culinary. So tell us a little bit about that. What made you want to add that little mix to your culinary and crafting?
I've always loved cosplay. I love Halloween. It's like my Christmas. As you can see, I have my skeleton back there.
Yes.
Horror has always been my thing. I love to create gory cakes. I'm so used to doing very girly, very like cutesy stuff. So whenever I do have the opportunity to create something gory, it's like a birthday for me. But I also really enjoy bringing the cake element into the cosplay portion. So a lot of times during Halloween, I will create a cake that is like an edible prop for me that I can bring around to the parade or like a party. But it's always been like, I feel like they go hand in hand. Like, if you can sculpt and mold like a model for a movie, why can't you mold it in edible form? We play with dough. Why can't we play with our food?
Right, yeah, that's so true. And I think I looked through your page when it was Halloween time, and I would say you make some awesome stuff when it
It's
comes
like
to that time of year.
it
I
like
was
it
like a
goes
whole
a lot,
different
yeah.
180, because I do see like why you have to do the other cakes, because that's what customers like with the big, baby shower cakes and the graduation cakes, when that year comes around, that time of year comes around. I'm a big Halloween Comic Con fan myself, so to see culinary and crafty in that perspective, is really
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
shift out. So what are some things you've created when it comes to anime, comic, and gaming?
I have done a couple weeks ago. I just did it. I haven't posted it. I'm so bad at promoting. I just did a Mandalorian cake, like the bust
Oh.
and helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I've done
Yeah,
a
you gotta
lot
put
of.
that up. Oh my God,
I need
people
to
would love
put
to
it. I'm
see
such a
that.
slacker on that. A couple. I've done a lot of like Super Mario cookies.
Mm-hmm.
I've done. What else have I done? It's so bad. There's so many cakes. I can't remember half of the stuff that I've created. That's so bad.
But even during cosplay, which is around the same time as Halloween, you mentioned about holding edible. What are
Oh
some
yeah.
edible
So
props that you made?
yeah, I've done I was Miss Argentina from Beetlejuice one year, and I created the shrunken head
Mm-hmm.
as a cake and walked around that downtown. I actually got to find a Beetlejuice that looks that exactly like the Beetlejuice that's sitting next to the lady with just the
Yeah.
legs cut off. So it worked out so well. I took a picture with him. It was great. Um, I've done a lot. I mean, it's really fun to be able to bring the two things that I love together and be able to just like show them off and have people uh, just react in a positive way. It's really fun.
Hey, though, you said you did a Harry Potter themed
Oh my God, I forgot
party.
about that.
Thanks for the
So I
ride there.
did.
Got the hookup.
It was OD. I had like candles like flying around, floating candles. I
Oh,
did a
wow.
sorting hat. The sorting hat was like maybe 2 feet
Yeah.
high. He had glasses, and inside all the colors of the cake were all of the houses.
Mhm.
It was really fun. I had a lot of fun.
Oh, wow. That sounds cool. This is definitely stuff like you could promote it up. Even the whole idea with the edible props for cosplay, because there's so many cosplayers out there, and a lot of them, well, you got half that love, like, they're all like fan made. They made it themselves. There's some that they will go and buy it online, sometimes at like a third party site that's overseas. But the idea of an edible prop is like actually a good, interesting business tweak to do, especially,
Absolutely.
now the conventions have been canceled, but I'm sure once they come back around, just the idea of like selling and creating those edible props, it's endless ideas like that could come from that.
It really is. And I create them so that they're light. I use Rice Krispie treats so you can walk around with them so they're not as heavy.
Oh, right. Yeah, I was actually the last person that was here because they mentioned props could be heavy and they use Evo form or foam. Foam. Yeah, they use
Yeah.
the type of foam they use for that. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that. But now the whole different thing of being from foam last week to hear it edible, it's like it's endless possibilities of like what you could do to your cosplay costume.
Absolutely.
Hmm. So with Halloween, tell us a little bit. Have you done any kind of business when it comes to Halloween? How did that business look?
It's not as busy. Usually before around September because there are a lot of birthdays in September. So Halloween's pretty quiet. Thanksgiving is when it picks back up. But I do create a lot of different gore throughout the year. So a lot of if there's a Friday the 13th birthday, those are like definitely something that people order for. I just did a friend's birthday a few weeks ago. His birthday is 6 months exactly after mine, so he's July 13th. And I did a Jason themed cake, and his coincidentally name is Jason. So that was like it turned out really really great. His wife just did like a whole backdrop of a Friday the 13th themed decorations. It was really really cool.
All right. So I want to know, because I see you really enjoy like doing those kind of creative cakes. What's the process? The difference between that process of doing those kind of those kind of cakes and the ones that are traditional cakes. What's something that's similar, or especially different from them?
For the most part, it's all the same process. It's just a matter of executing just the thought before creating it physically. If a customer has something in mind, I definitely try to execute as close to their vision as possible. But a picture versus what somebody else's hands versus my hands are going to totally be different. But I try to maintain that integrity and that similarity. But yeah, it's all the same for the most part. Just making sure that I have ample enough time to create their order, and making sure that temperature plays a part. For the most part, though, it's all the same.
Mm-hmm. No, that sounds very interesting. And I wanted to get more into your culinary and crafting background because as an educator, I have, my page, I have a couple of parents, educators, young adults who want to get into culinary. As a teacher, there's so many students that mentioned they want to do culinary, but they also love anime, comic, and gaming. So can you share a little bit of that process when it comes to culinary? Like, what is some advice you would give to a young person that wants to get into culinary and crafting?
I think if you have the passion and if you feel that it's something that you want to pursue, go for it. Don't hesitate. Don't think twice. No matter if it's culinary, if it's working in a school, whether it's crafting, definitely wet your toes. I can't draw for my life. I cannot draw a straight line. I give so much kudos to the people that are out there that are artists, because it's such a different medium to work with a flat surface versus something that you have to mold and create. But everything that you're using your hands for, I feel like it's regardless of whether you're upset or you're having a bad day while you're working, it all comes from love. Even if you could be the maddest you've ever been, it still comes from love. And I feel that any creative industry is definitely underappreciated. And teachers, anything that's providing a service. And I feel like we go unnoticed. And I just feel like if you're going to go for it, though, know that that's something that's definitely on the table, but also don't second guess yourself and go for it.
Right, yeah, definitely agree with that. I've had, especially when it comes to schools, public school, they don't, young people say they want to do culinary and crafting. It's something that in the public school level of K to 12, it's not something that is pushed or like, okay, we're going to push you to a trade school, push you to a culinary or crafting school to pursue that. It's a different, especially public education, it's like they push to the 4-year schools and things like that, or community colleges. So I always felt for the students who were artists, who were creative, and they knew they wanted to cook and get into culinary, it was always that struggle with them. So it's always encouraging, so it's always that little bits of words of encouragement, even that mentorship aspect of meeting someone like yourself that's in the field, to get them to speak with them as well in that perspective. So for you, what were some influences for you that kept you in going into culinary and crafting?
Well, my grandmother was my biggest influence since I was as long as I can remember. I was in the kitchen with her every Sunday making tomato sauce for pasta every Sunday. Like every day we watched every cooking show available on public access. So Jacques Pepin, Julia Childs, Yan Can Cook, everything that was around and available. This woman was writing recipes down as fast as she could to remember so that we could make it a couple days later. There's recipes all over that are still have never been executed because she was just like constantly saving and learning. And it was something that I didn't realize was going to be a passion until I lost my job in the administrative world. And it definitely dawned on me that like, hey, you can do this. This is something that you can definitely pursue. It's something that you definitely know how to do. And you should definitely take that chance. But for the most part, it's been just, I don't know how to explain it. It's been not easy, but it just felt right, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of like, that sort of like you got to get through those painful moments. Like they say, when it comes to self-discovery and self-growth, it's not all fine, roses and wine. It's sort of
absolutely.
it's you go through those stepping stones and those painful points, and they help you to grow, realizing that I needed that fall. I needed to fall at that moment to know now what's the reason for that.
For sure. It's really unfortunate that home ec and like woodworking and stuff, they're no longer in school. Had I had that in school while my grandmother was helping me in the, you know, just guiding me toward this career, I would have done it a long time ago. But I also think that it would have also posed the option of it being too overwhelming and me already knowing the ropes that by a young age I may have lost the passion for it a long time ago and would have a whole nother career now. But I just feel like the essentials, sewing, you know, cleaning up, just folding laundry, knowing how to just boil water and make something simple, those should be essentials in school. And it's really unfortunate that the budgets of education aren't offering anymore. It's really disheartening.
Yeah, definitely that's something we talk about as educators, and you know, we realize home ec is something that's missing. And even, you know, I think when I was in school, in middle school, there was a kitchen, and I didn't even know that they wasn't using it. So it was just there. The wood shop area back in high school was there. They weren't using it. So it's just the school, like they keep you in the same school building since 1900, but they want to post all these new progressive kind of methods, you know, which is like, yeah, we are advancing as, you know, 21st century learners and citizens and those things, but there's still those back to basic things. And I think during this whole process of COVID and the pandemic, we're realizing is we need a foundation. We need that foundation of going back to basics. And that's something I've mentioned in previous workshops with parents, and they all agree with it, you know, that when they've been home, they had to find ways to kind of engage their children. So they didn't know. They were like, what should I do? You know, like, well, there's, you know, make a small little meal with your children, you know, clean around the house. Like, you know, like there's so many ways to go back to basics. And I think this is definitely good. I hope it's one of those points to make them realize that sometimes going back, finding that foundation level will grow others as well.
Absolutely.
So I was thinking also, like, you know, I also took the academic path for myself because I'm more of a sort of creative as well. But it's like growing up in the Bronx and, or, you know, low-income family, low-income area, it was like education was like always like go to school, go to college, you know, get that degree, get the job that's going to, you know, be a citizen, you know, be successful in society. But people telling me this were either not or struggling themselves, or this is just the narrative they were fed. So going into school myself, you know, I took a shift and like seeing how so many years of working in social service, it's really changed and made me realize that also being a teacher, how we have to change that narrative, change how we educate not just our students, but, you know, how we have to change what we were taught growing up as well. And it looks like you had such a great foundation with your grandmother. Just, you know, who would have thought? Did you even realize that looking at those culinary episodes and that this would be a foundation for you, right? It's like one of those hidden things that I think we, you know, young people don't realize that's in front of them.
Right. It was a light bulb. It just came out of nowhere. I was like, oh, this is what I was supposed to be doing. Because a lot of friends, when I was cooking, I was bringing food to people's houses, and everybody was just like, you should pursue this as a career. I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, I've been in an office for the last 15 years. Why would I want to cook? And it finally dawned on me, like, this is something that definitely should be looked at.
Mm-hmm. So that's something, you know, I definitely feel like a lot of young people probably have that. And, you know, it's also changing the narrative with their parents as well. You know, so I really love that you have this message and, you know, you're sharing that inspiration with others as well. So we're at the over the half mark. Wow. This always goes so fast before I realize it. So before the time runs out, I wanted to do the showpiece of the show and tell.
Okay.
So anything that you said you'll show us, any exclusive collections, the stuff you've done in the past, anything that's big goods, earrings, pins, anything that you have for sale now, or if you are accepting commissions, please show that. I'll give you the floor so you could explain that. And of course, those who are tuning in or who will tune in later on Instagram TV, please leave your post on the comments below. So
Yes, please.
there
Thank you.
go.
So everything I am currently wearing is for sale. Etsy and obviously Instagram. You can contact me via there. As discussed previously, I did a cupcake for the brunch for us. It was sponsored by Martell, so I have one here.
Mm-hmm.
It was a chocolate cupcake infused with Martell cognac, with a Martell vanilla bean buttercream, and a salted caramel drizzle. While I have the cupcake here, I just want to show you guys a little cupcake trick. I know a lot of people don't know this, how to properly eat a cupcake.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they get very messy. So
mm-hmm.
what you're going to do is twist the top off and turn it upside down and make it a sandwich. It might be a little too boozy. Let's see if we can do it.
Magic at work.
And here you have a
sandwich. I did not, it's like all these years on Earth, I didn't realize that.
It just dawned on me only a couple years ago, and I was like, oh my god, mine completely blown.
At least I can still show my kids that they're still little enough. I can show them that trick, so they'll take it with them.
That's it. So on the tray that I have created, I'll show you the tray after. But I also do sugar cookies. So these are some baby themed sugar cookies I did for yesterday. I made extra just for today. The trays that I am doing, I'm also doing decorative rolling or jewelry trays. I don't know if you can see the glitter. I know it's really glary. So
yeah, see the little design, like sparkly.
They're resin based. So
nice.
It's like laden with glitter. I also have some coasters. Both, I have 3 mediums. So I have acrylic with the laser machine, wood, and also resin. So this is just like an idea. Galaxy style.
Nice, yeah.
A beachy themed kind of.
Oh yeah, that one's very nice. Does that move? The sand? Does it move?
No, I wish. That's the next step, to try to learn.
There you
go. Wood coasters.
Here you go.
And an acrylic style. They can be customized to whatever team or just characters. I have some Wu-Tang ones. You can, if you have a personal logo, I can definitely work on that for you. Some ornaments. I don't know if you saw these when we were at Christmas. Can also customize for state if you want to send them out to friends and family. What else do I have? Since everybody's home and smoking, I also have
everyone needs that moment, that break. Yes.
Some ashes.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
And just the regular pins. I also, if we're gonna talk geeky, the communicator from Star Trek.
Yeah, that's an awesome one.
Gotta do
definitely
it.
Definitely a good one. I like that. And you're wearing the toad one. Yeah, the one up. Awesome.
I just have, football based, basketball themed stuff. Whatever medium you have, if you have an idea. A lot of it's not posted on Etsy because I'm just overwhelmed with producing. But a lot of it can be customized, different colors, different mediums, some Africa shaped pins.
Nice.
This is a mirror acrylic. These are the 3, the Pan American African flag. Just overall, in general, any style that you have. I just sold the last Yankee Women. I do have a Mets pin. But yeah, everything can be customized by color, wood, acrylic, or resin. If anybody has, I can put logos inside of the trays as well. Or special images if you like. But yeah, that's my stuff. That's what I do.
No, that's great stuff. So tell me that you said you work with 3 mediums, right? Tell us the process about those 3 and like how are they, whether it's easy or difficult or interchangeable.
They well, the wood and acrylic are interchangeable because they can be cut in the laser printer. But the resin needs a whole nother method. So that's the mixing, the pouring. It needs a full 2 days to cure or dry. But for the most part, it's all just a an execution process. So just to figure out how to create the design for a specific item, creating the design, and then executing it either in the machine or in the resin mold, and just gluing everything, adhering it, and letting it dry before sending it out or handing it over to somebody.
Wow, that's amazing stuff. So with the trays you showed us, so show us that one, the colorful one. That was the multicolor one. Right. Those, right? With that process. Those come in various sizes.
So this is the
Or just
largest
like
size for right now for these trays, but I also have some hexagon coasters, I believe. Yeah. So you can
and you
use
said
them
with
as
those you could put a picture in it, right? With those?
you can, yes. So just the regular coaster size. I also have a blue one. Because they are for the children.
AW Geek said,
Yeah.
I'm gonna shout him out. He says, you come up with these ideas instead of sleeping. So you work 24/7, huh? I could imagine. That's something I want to know. Yeah, because you did mention the grind. You know, like, because I remember when you did our Bronx versus the collaborative event I did with the Bronx collab. You know, you mentioned you didn't sleep. I was like, oh my God, how are you here?
Normal. It's normal for me. I just feel like I want, if it's a baked good, I want to provide the absolute freshest I can up until that moment that we're going live with something. But there's always that last minute idea that you have in your head that you're like, oh, I can do this as well and provide this for people. It's definitely, I've always been like this. I've always been a night owl. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's just something that's always been that way. And I just feel like you need to provide the absolute greatest quality if you're going to provide something for people. That's a tangible item, because I've always wanted to be able to provide the best product, and people deserve that.
So you mentioned the idea spark, you know, and I also feel for myself, I'm sure other people too, is like the best ideas always spark at 3 a.m. for me. You know, I could just wake up suddenly or I can't sleep, and then 3 a.m. boom, an idea sparks. I always keep on my nightstand like a paper and pen right there just to write it down. So, how do you feel about that? Coming up with that idea.
Well, usually
how does it work for you?
It works because I'm usually already awake at that time, so it helps. But a lot of the times I have notepads all over the house. So there's notepads, there's dry erase boards. I try to put notes in my phone as fast as I can if there's an idea. But yeah, there's always like a writing medium somewhere, somehow around the house. I'll write on toilet paper if I need to, just to get the idea out so that I don't forget. Because then it goes by the wayside, and then you're like a month later, you're like, oh, I was supposed to do that. That's right. It can be very overwhelming, especially with custom orders. But all of my customers, friends, and family are very understanding and understand that, like, I want to create something for you. I want to make sure that it's the best thing I can do, and just a little bit of time and patience can definitely execute that.
I think it's important, the thing you said there about having those friends and family that have that understanding of your creative process, and they respect it. They know to trust you with it. So I want to know about that relationship when it comes to the client and when it comes to you as a culinary and a creative as well. How important is that relationship to you?
I think that dynamic is crucial. People that, I've always been supported, like I said earlier, from friends and family from the beginning. And I just feel like when you have a customer that understands your narrative is yours and not another baker's or another chef or another creative's, that they give you the full reign to be creative. They'll give you a theme, they'll provide an idea, but give you the opportunity to just use your artistic ideas. There's nothing better. Like for one bad, really bad like opportunity, there's 10 behind it that just like supersede it. And I'm really grateful and fortunate to have people like that just behind me and supporting me. It's great.
Right. AW Geek says culinary and bar industry kind of has turned our minds to be up during the late night hours.
It's true. I've been a night owl since I was a kid, but just being used to being up for so long, you know, some hours bars close at 4 o'clock. We have to break down and clean up and do the numbers. It's easily, you're leaving there 5, 6 in the morning sometimes. So I'm very accustomed to being up when the sun is coming up. And everybody's like, well, you don't sleep. When do you sleep? I'm like, when you're asleep. When you're awake is when I'm asleep. It's just the way it is.
You got like that superhero schedule, you know?
With no mask. I don't need a mask. We're out here.
No, it's so true. You know, it's one of those things like that people don't know about the industry, you know? They see the process and they see the outcome, but those little details that go into it is what they don't notice. You know?
Everybody thinks that because they watch Cake Boss for 30 minutes that it takes me 30 minutes to make a 5-tier wedding cake.
Oh man, oh my goodness, yeah. Some of those shows I do see them, you know, and it's surprising. Like sometimes some of the pressure that some of the people go through, and you know, so like, but how do you relate to that show? Is it as it is? I mean, is it true, or is it all kind of like smoke and mirrors that they put up there?
No, it's not smoke and mirrors. I relate 110% to the pressure that those people go through, because you want to provide. It's somebody's big day, or it's a first birthday, it's a 21st birthday. You want to make sure that whatever you're providing is up to par and even past their expectations. So it's definitely overwhelming. I'm my own worst critic. So it's definitely always like, I see that flaw, I see that crease, I can see that it's a little tilted, it could have been a different color. I'm always going to be that way. I can't help it. Even if it's a cake that I absolutely love, it is the most favorite cake that I have of the year, I'm still going to nitpick at it, and I'm still going to see the flaws. But overall, there's definitely that overwhelming like heaviness, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I love to be able to provide a great opportunity for a great product for people during their special days, and also great food for people just to have a smile on their mouth too. Is like the bottom line is like happy bellies, basically.
Right. You mentioned a few times about overwhelm, like how but it's worth it at the end. Tell us, as a culinary and a crafter, some self-care techniques that you do, or others that work for you when it comes to, because everyone does something different if they're a teacher or they're an entrepreneur. So what are some self-care culinary and crafter self-care things you do for yourself?
So everybody that knows this, everybody that knows me that's gonna watch this is gonna be like, you're a liar. But, I try really hard to rest.
I think they've said that already.
It's so difficult because I know that I have 1,000 thoughts going through my head, and I want to make sure that, like, I hate laying down knowing that I can be up working instead of just laying in the bed doing nothing, because I know I'm not going to sleep. So I'll wind up just getting up and working a couple more hours anyway. But I feel like self-care is crucial. Like, you definitely need a day off, 2 days off. You need to sleep. A spa day, even if it's just a quick meditation every day before you get up, yoga. Drink plenty of water. That is my mantra always. Drink water. Even if you're not resting, that water will give you that boost of energy more than a Red Bull, more than a coffee will, definitely more than a soda will, because there's no sugar, and that's what our bodies are mainly made up of. But definitely, even if you get those quick cat naps in, I just feel like rest is essential for everybody, obviously, but definitely, like, when you work for yourself, you just want to go ham, and you want to constantly go, and it's rough. You definitely need to take that break. I try my hardest, I really do, but it's difficult.
Yeah, I think definitely the water one is so important, and the rest. Those are like the two that go hand in hand, and in any field, I think it's very vital to have those two. Sometimes we even forget, as an educator and a parent, you forget, like, wait, I need to rest because I'm going to be cranky with these kids, and, I do need to stay hydrated because, it's going to help me because I'm always on the go and to move around. So,
right.
That's just life lessons of self-care there.
Yeah,
Indeed.
100%. It's difficult. It's not that it's not that easy when you don't. It's like, oh wait, I forgot to eat today. Did I eat today?
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's definitely difficult.
So before I get into my last question, so what are some upcoming things you got going on when it comes to sales, or are you accepting any commissions or any kind of requests?
Commissions are always accepted. I'm working on a couple as we speak. The only thing that I ask of is understand for the trays that they take a day. I only have one mold right now, so every mold will take a day to create, but definitely accepting custom orders. Next week we have another brunch with Martel, so that's going to be really fun. This is something, the brunch itself is something that's going to definitely be larger than Della or anybody expected. It was something that was small and, you know, within his friends and family, but something that's definitely growing to exceed his expectations for sure. But yeah, I have Etsy is definitely that I'm trying my best to add as many items as I can this week to go live with. But there's stuff on.
That would be great. I know I said I have one more question, but I have one more before this last question, because you mentioned about the Etsy store. You know, I always think that's something that entrepreneurs or creators want to get into. Can you explain like that process of like the Etsy store, from like pros and cons, or just, you know, it could be any, it don't have to be Etsy store. It could be any kind of e-commerce store for those who are beginners.
I think it's a great tool. It's a great opportunity to network, because you can always purchase from other people, and they can, just like what I explained earlier with, you know, purchasing from the bartender and chef that I know. It's a lot easier to know your community rather than outsourcing and finding other people. But the process is pretty easy. They calculate the tax for you, the shipping, you create your own options. But for the most part, everything is pretty cut and dry. It's a really easy tool. But I know that there are other platforms out there. I haven't used any. I've always used PayPal for specific, like certain cakes and cupcakes and stuff. I did that for years. I still use it occasionally if need be, but Etsy is just an easier platform because it's visual. A lot of people shop there, so it's just much easier. But it's, I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great for anybody that sells anything, for sure.
Great, you're doing such amazing things. My last question is, my philosophy is it takes a village, and it's all about just bringing collaboration and connection to create new ideas to reshape our communities. So my question is, how do you envision collaboration, whether it's now or in the future, for yourself as a culinary chef and a culinary crafter, or just a crafter?
Opportunities are always there. So me and Sky, AW Geeks, are always going back and forth. But that's for the most part just coming up with ideas for each other a lot and branching out. He's making masks right now for everybody. Go check him out. But custom masks, custom pins and shot glasses and earrings and stuff that we both, you know, we work on together. I know that Lou has a hot sauce, father and son's hot sauce. I would definitely love, I see you, Lou. I know you were here. I'd love to collaborate with him on something.
Nice.
We actually went to culinary school together in Monroe College, and he is busting his behind to get his product out there and just really grinding and his platform is awesome. He's definitely really like creating a great sound for himself. But I think for the most part, collaborations are great. I would love to be able to collaborate with anybody. I just haven't had the time because I've been so busy with everything that's been happening now. It's like the main focus is just like make sure you get stuff done and make sure it gets out there.
Yeah, I think that was when I met you. You were doing that table with AW Geeks, and that's why I noticed like all the anime, comic, gaming kind of stuff. And I got to speak to these two and get to know them more, especially doing a type of medium and a craft that's different from those in the genre of anime, comic, and gaming. You know, a lot of them are artists or comic drawers or into gaming, streaming. So to see this different, diverse perspective, you know, it's great. So I love that, you know, you're bringing that collaboration, bringing that, you know, this culinary and crafting to the genre.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you so much, Valerie. You can follow her at So I'll let you do the honors of where do people follow you? Where could they buy your products?
Etsy and Instagram, Valerie's Viand Inc. For both, you can search it and it'll come right up, and the store will be right there. I appreciate this. This is awesome.
Yes, thank you so much. This is so great. You know, I wish you the best. Many prayers to you and your family.
Thank you.
And everyone who joined us. Thank you so much. And look forward to seeing the rest of you next week.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.